Welcome back to Curriculum Week, and today we are going to be talking about 9th grade. Welcome to this House of Walls. My name is Ashley, and I love to talk all things secular homeschooling. And here we are. Somehow my oldest is going to be reaching 9th grade this year, which is incredible. He has grown and learned and matured so much in middle school, and so I'm really excited about what his high school kind of career will bring. It has definitely been fun kind of planning what he's going to be using, and it definitely changed as I got into planning. I'll talk about that a little bit more as I'm talking about what we're going to be using. And in going with that, we aren't going to be doing our family subjects anymore on Fridays like we have this year, but that's okay because he has his own interests that he wants to really get into. Before we really start talking curriculum, just a little bit of housekeeping and background. So for the background, he started homeschooling for his 4th grade year. When he was in 3rd grade, the pandemic hit and he was able to finish out 3rd grade virtually, which was great. He had a good experience with it. His teacher was amazing. The whole 3rd grade team all came together to just try to make the best of a crazy situation. But by the time that summer hit, we knew we needed a little bit of stability in our lives, and so decided to take on homeschooling and haven't really looked back since. We always reassess at the beginning of every school year. Is this something that we want to continue? We had a big discussion this year because essentially in the state of Virginia, once you start homeschooling high school, you stick with it the whole time. You can't really transition back to public school because we're not accredited and they don't want to take those credits. You can always start at public school and transition into homeschooling and then just do whatever you want. But it doesn't really work from going from homeschooling to public school. So this is it. Like, we are in it for good now. He will be graduating as a homeschool student. This is definitely not a path that we ever thought we would be taking, but it has turned into something fantastic. I am still figuring out all the credits and everything. I do have a binder that I have started, and so that I can keep track of everything that he does each year of his high school. And my plan is once a semester to really go in, update it, make sure everything is there so that we don't get to his senior year where I'm trying to write his transcript and I don't remember what he took his freshman year. As I am talking about all of these different subjects that he will be doing, I will post here what that credit is going to be that he will receive. And then the housekeeping aspect of it, everything that I am about to show, I have bought myself. I am not gifted any of this. I am not an affiliate with anything. The only thing that I am an affiliate with is History Quest. We aren't going to be using any of that. But if you're interested in History Quest, I have some videos of that, and you can check out the link down below. I think that's it. Let's get started. So, different layout this year for homeschooling. But also, it's not surprising. We are going to be picking up level 9 of Build Your Library. This is a secular Charlotte Mason inspired program that he has been using now since 7th grade. Yeah, since 7th grade. And it has absolutely worked best for him. He definitely learns best from great resources that he can kind of go off on his own into a quiet space and read about and do those activities. So we will be continuing with this. The initial plan was that he was only going to be doing the history and science of this. If you are new to Build Your Library, there are many different components involved in it, and we will be talking about all of those because we are going to be using all of them except for the literature components. Level 9 does step it up a little bit. He is required to do a little bit more writing of papers and taking notes, and just more to it. So let's get into it. The first topic that we will be using from Build Your Library is the history. Now with level 9, it is prehistory, kind of from Big Bang to the beginning stages of humans. So there's a lot of amazing things to cover there. It is not something that we have ever covered extensively before. I think in History Quest in the early times, we started Paleolithic. We've kind of talked about dinosaurs throughout our homeschooling experience, but haven't really went headfirst into prehistory. So I'm really excited about all the amazing things he will be learning this year. So here are the books and resources that he will be using. First, we have this Prehistoric Life, the Definitive Visual History of Life on Earth. It is a DK. We love DK books in this house, and so I think this one will be a great one for him to go through. Another DK book is Evolution, the Human Story. So great to go through. Then we have The Story of Life in 25 Fossils, A Brief History of Earth, 4 Billion Years in 8 Chapters. And then we have Sapiens, A Graphic History. Volume 1 is The Birth of Humankind, and Volume 2 is The Pillars of Civilization. So along with all of those amazing books and resources, he has a history binder that he will use. I have put 36 different tabs in here, and in those tabs, let me find it, we have some of the worksheets that come with Build Your Library, and then I haven't put it in the back yet. No, I didn't. But in the back will be a ton of loose leaf paper for different paragraphs, papers, sketches, anything that he needs extra loose leaf paper, and then he can put it in that week that he is using. And then for science, again, we're going to be using the books and resources from Build Your Library. So one of our main books is going to be A Short History of Nearly Everything. Janice Van Cleve's A+ Projects in Earth Science. He will be using quite a bit of this to do more projects. This won't be able to count as a lab science, but he will get some hands-on experience and higher levels of Build Your Library, he will be able to get that lab science credit. We have The Practical Geologist, The Brilliant Abyss, exploring the majestic hidden life of the deep ocean and the looming threat that imperils it. The Stuff of Life, a graphic guide to genetics and DNA, so this is a little graphic novel, and How to Change Everything, a young human's guide to protecting the planet and each other. Just like with history, he will have a science binder. I have set it up exactly the same way so that he knows, hey, we are on week whatever, here's where I can find my work, or if I have to write a paper or do a sketch, I can add it into that week. Something new is there will be weekly quizzes, which I really like. Right now, I don't have a way to test really, other than talking back and forth with him, that he has gained knowledge from what he is reading. So I really like that there are quizzes involved. And even though it will not be a lab credit, he will be filling out a lab report whenever he does any of those projects. Moving right along, the next component of Build Your Library that we are going to be including is poetry. So there's 2 books that we will be using. The first is Poetry 180, A Turning Back to Poetry. So this is 180 poems, and so throughout each week, he will be reading 5 of them and just kind of learning and getting experience from all kinds of different poems. And then he also has this book called A Poetry Handbook, a prose guide to understanding and writing poetry. So this, every now and then, he will take a kind of deeper dive into different styles of poetry and kind of trying it on his own. So we also have a little composition notebook that will go along with this. And so when he needs to try his hand at poetry, he can just put it into here. And then we have Introduction to Literary Analysis. I'm really excited about this. One of the main things that he will be using is How to Read Literature Like a Professor, a lively and entertaining guide to reading between the lines. So he will be reading some of this, And then I have a little notebook here for literary analysis. And in the front of the book, this came with Build Your Library. It's How to Read Literature Like a Professor study guide. So as he reads a chapter, he will go into here and answer the questions to go along with it. Also with How to Read Like a Professor, he will be doing this figuratively speaking workbook. So I did purchase the actual workbook and I just made copies of it and put it into here. And so he will go over all kinds of different literary terms and get to know them a little bit better. Now, to kind of sidetrack off of Build Your Library for a second, that stuff right there kind of ties into grammar a little bit. So with that, I'm going to talk about some other resources that we are going to be using, like Hearth and Story Grammar. This is their 6th grade because I think that there's some amazing things in here that, he has a good understanding of grammar. I just want to spend another at least year kind of nailing down those grammar things. And what I like about Hearth and Story is that it teaches grammar and then puts it into like real life. How can you edit papers and poems and things like that using that grammar? So you can see here is level 1 and learning about subject and predicate. And then for lesson 2, you learn some editing marks and practice editing. So I really like that kind of learn something and put it to use aspect of Hearth and Story. If this goes really well, we will do the 7th and 8th grade level for 10th grade and then be done with grammar. And then another component that we will be continuing is Word Roots Level 1. He made it about halfway last year, which is great. And so I'm hoping that this year we will finish this up. And it's just a nice grammar program that teaches how to take words apart so that you can learn the roots, prefixes, and suffixes to understand what a word means. And then back to Build Your Library. So another thing that he is going to be doing is survival skills. He is really excited about this. It is not something that I was planning on incorporating, but it's here in Build Your Library, and I asked him if he wanted to do it, and he said, yeah, that sounds so much fun. So one of the books that he's going to be using is Bushcraft, Outdoor Skills, and Wilderness Survival. So that should be a lot of fun for him to go through. And then he also has Edible Plants, a North American Field Guide to over 200 natural foods. He will also be doing art. He is my artist. He loves to create. He's constantly drawing, painting, any of it. So for Build Your Library Level 9 is drawing. So he has You Can Draw in 30 Days, the fun, easy way to learn to draw in 1 month or less. Obviously, we will be taking more than a month. He'll be doing about 2 days a week. So that will be a lot of fun. And then we also have The First Signs, Unlocking the Mysteries to the World's Oldest Symbols. So again, a nice little resource to have. And then for survival skills and art, he needs something to put some information into. So I got him this little sketch pad that will be perfect for him to draw in or take notes about survival skills. Any of that kind of information can go into here. Now, we are not going to be using the literature from a literature-based curriculum. We just have our own plans. We are going to be doing a year of apocalyptic, sci-fi, fantasy kind of reading, and I'm really excited to do this. So I have a stack of books here that hopefully we will incorporate. Now, a couple of these, I will be getting a kind of study guide, reading guide, some assignments to go along with it to just help in understanding it. And also, how do we study a book that we're reading? And just to get some practice into that. So one of the books that we are going to be using like first thing in the school year is, of course, Hunger Games. So this is just the first book. I do have the other 2 books in the trilogy and the 2 prequels. I would like to at least get through the whole first trilogy, and then if he would like to read the prequels on his own, he could do that. I am currently reading it again on my own. That is a big change that happens for 9th grade. In Build Your Library, even though we're not following that, is there's not these separate readers and literature books. It's just literature books, and you and your child can decide if you are going to read them together, buddy read them, or just your child read them. I am planning on reading all of the books here and then assigning them to him. So that is our plan. He's going to be starting with the Hunger Games, and I'm so excited for him to experience this. He has watched the movies, but obviously there's so much more to get from the books. We also have Ready Player One, which I think has like a video game aspect of it, so that should be fun and interesting. This next one is, again, one that I have the other 2 books in the series. I do believe that there will be a 4th book coming out, but we'll get there when we get there. I have Scythe by Neil Shusterman. So this is book 1 in Arc of the Scythe series. I had actually purchased this for myself to read, and now I get to enjoy it with my son. Another book that I had bought for myself to read and didn't get to, but this will force me to get to it, is The Last Quintista. I believe this is like a sci-fi end-of-world kind of story, and so I'm really excited for that one. A nonfiction that we will be pulling in is Braiding Sweetgrass, Indigenous Wisdom, Scientific Knowledge, and the Teachings of Plants. Obviously, it's not apocalyptic kind of thing, but you know, it has a kind of get to know your world aspect, and I think that it would be just a really good one for him to pick up and read. I love to be able to incorporate a graphic novel, and so I do have Animal Farm by George Orwell. I am looking for a really good character study guide and kind of background information about Animal Farm before he dives into this. And then I have 2 books here. I'm not quite sure which one we will do, but I do have 2 of the No Fear Shakespeare books. Now, through Build Your Library level 9, I do believe The Taming of the Shrew is the one that is put in there, not necessarily this version. I think it's just like the regular version of it. But I also have Romeo and Juliet, which I know that's the one that I read when I was a freshman in high school. So I'm not quite sure which one we will do. I might have him choose which he would like to do. I did find, at least for Romeo and Juliet on Teachers Pay Teachers, there's a study guide to go along with it. And this is another one where I want to pull in a study guide. I know that this setup is definitely nice because it has the actual words that Shakespeare created and then kind of the modern day meaning of those words. So I think that this will be a really nice way and introduction into Shakespeare that makes it easy to understand. Most of this he will be doing on his own. He will be checking in with me, I will be checking his work, and it'll be more of that kind of relationship of let's make sure you're getting your stuff done and understanding what you're doing. I still want to be able to sit down with him one-on-one and do something though. So I am calling this Civics, I think is what it's going to be called. And I think it's going to be something that we continue his whole high school career, is let's sit down and read a really good civics book together. So I have 2 that I'm hoping will be one for each semester. So the first is True or False, a CIA analyst's guide to spotting fake news. I feel like that's really important to know. And then I also have this one, Unequal, the Story of America. So these sound really cool. I have another book by these same authors that I think we'll hold off and read another year, but this one sounds really good. So on the inside it says, an urgent, enlightening account of racial inequality in America. I think that's really important to read about. All right, we are down to our last 2 subjects. Whew! There's a lot, but I'm so excited about everything here. So he will be doing a lot of writing with history and science, but I still want to do a formal writing curriculum. So we are going to be continuing with Layers of Learning Writers Workshop. This is a family style writing program where you have a whole menu of ideas that you can bring into your day-to-day schedule. I tend to plan 4 weeks at a time for each kind of subject in here, and we go through, pick some amazing activities to learn more about that way of writing, and then the very last week we take a whole paper or assignment through the entire writing process until we have a published piece of work. So we are definitely going to be continuing this. Along with that, he has his own binder, and so one of our first assignments, he will be creating a binder cover. I did leave a couple of things in here, like some anchor charts, and we'll just kind of review those as we kind of touch on them again. And then the very last thing to talk about is math. I will put a picture up here of what we are going to be using because I don't have it yet, but that is Denison Algebra 1. We used pre-algebra this year by this company, and it was the first math that he has used that clicked. It just lays it out in a simple way that isn't there to trick the kids. It's taught in a way that actually allows some kids to succeed in math. So we absolutely loved it. He has a couple lessons left in pre-algebra that he is finishing up this summer, and then we will be purchasing the next level. It does have a video component to it, and you have, I think it's at least 12 months to get through it, but I think it actually goes a little bit further to like 13 months maybe? I can't remember. If I remember to look it up, I'll put it here. But this was absolutely, like, we didn't have to think about this at all in picking curriculum. He will be continuing with Denison. And then that is it. Whew. It is going to be a fantastic freshman year. We will also be incorporating our co-op classes, and so he'll get a little bit of credits for that. Probably, half credits for each class. And that happens 1 day a week, and so the other 4 days we have a stack of amazing things to use here. I will, in my next video, I believe, have my planner and kind of going through showing how I put my planner together, and also how I have pieced all of these different subjects into our school year, especially when we only school 4 days a week, but a lot of this curriculum is written for 5 days a week. On that note, don't forget to like and subscribe down below, and I will be back for more soon.